about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics.
Harambe YouTube, it is Unc Blurred here, and today we're going to talk about a graphic novel from Dynamite Comics. This was put out, I should have looked this up before we got into the video, but it is from 2016. So this was before I was collecting. It is Shaft, Imitation of Life. It is a 4-issue book that I've read it multiple times and I enjoy it every time. It has all of the things that make the Shaft film series iconic in one book. It's a shorter read. Both times I've read it in one sitting. And it's one of those that I keep handy because it's always just something that you can go back to and learn something from. And it covers a lot of ground. Not only the racial issues that you would expect from this time period in 70s exploitation character, but as well as certain things like, drug abuse and homosexuality and the stigma that there was around that in the 70s, and the seedy underside of New York City, and Shaft himself dealing with the trauma of Vietnam and his experiences there, and trying to settle back into society as a private detective, and trying to balance that life with trying to find peace of himself. And it covers a lot of ground. There are things such as, and I'm talking about a big list. I don't do point by point because I feel like point by point reviews give away the best part of the story, and that is discovering the story. But one major thing that he does go into when we first start the book is about his time in Vietnam and the trauma that it creates, and about how when you join the military, it says first thing they teach you in the Marines is that the enemy is the enemy, not another human being. This dehumanizes them, makes them easier to kill. Thing about dehumanizing someone else is that you can't do it without giving up part of your own humanity in the process. That's the price you pay for being able to kill someone. And so, yeah, very, very deep stuff. And we just, the first few pages start with him on a mission, who he was hired by this Harlem crime boss to rescue his daughter. And that really brought him a lot of fame and attention that he wasn't quite ready for. And so he laid low for a couple of months because he wanted to work, and a part of his work, and the thing that you see throughout all of this, is him trying to make amends for the humanity that he lost in Vietnam. And this last job and the fame that came with it really took a toll on him. And he's trying to find a job, find a case that is not going to lead him to so much death and destruction, but just some nice, easy, clean money. And that is when his family comes to him from a small town upstate New York, looking for their son who they're estranged from because he came out as homosexual. And so he ran away from home, and they think he's in New York, and they want Shaft to find him. And, his first thought is like, this case is not going to end up good. And he told him outright, this is most likely a waste of your money, but if you want to pay me, I'll do the best I can. But even if you get your son back, you're not going to have your son completely back, because the city changes people. And in the process of trying to track down his son, he meets a very, very funny character, flamboyant character named Tito Salazar, who becomes almost like his de facto reluctant sidekick throughout this whole thing. When Shaft is looking for this family's son, he stumbles across Tito and a particular bar. And Tito, as he's showing a picture of the son, Tito recognizes him, but he realizes who Shaft is and that Shaft may be able to help him out in his own issues. And so, like I said, they kind of develop a reluctant, accidental friendship and a mentor-mentee relationship that, it creates a real funny dynamic between the two. And I like the way that Tito Salazar is written. He's not written as a gay joke. He's written as a flesh and blood person, and he's not a joke, and he teaches Shaft a lot about acceptance. There's a point where Shaft uses a derogatory term to describe a venue, and Tito's like, no, I don't like that word. And Shaft is, he apologizes, corrects himself, and later in the issue when some cops are, trying to get information out of Shaft, they use that same word, and Shaft is like, no, I don't like that word. And so you get to see growth from the character, and it takes a lot of twists and turns. This book ends up in a very unexpected place, and by the end of it, you go from a story about a man broken by war, trying to find peace, to an unlikely, unwanting to be a hero. He didn't want to be a hero. He didn't want to be a name. And it ends with him being the subject of a major motion picture, which is terrible in the funniest ways. And he is both, he's amused by his notoriety, but also annoyed by it. And like I said, this book is a fun read because it does so much. It talks about trauma, it talks about societal issues, it has humor, it has wit, it's still gritty. This is not a book you're going to want to give your kids or somebody who doesn't, if you wouldn't let somebody sit down and watch a Shaft movie, you're not going to put this book in their hands because it has adult themes, adult language, and nudity. But none of it is gratuitous, and behind all of that is a lot of heart in this story. So get it when you can, where you can, how you can. You can order it from a variety of places. I believe I ordered mine off of Amazon, brand new. I think it was like $15, $15.99. You can find used copies for lower than that. But it is a great read if you want to spend an hour with a great story. Check out Shaft, Imitation of Life from Dynamite Comics. I'll see you guys next time. If you'd like to contribute to the growth of this channel, you can support me or buy me a coffee with the QR code on the screen. But most importantly, watching, liking, and subscribing is more than enough. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep reading them books. I will. He's a bad mother.